Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of the Kazusa After Story from White Album 2. Previously, Kazusa was waiting in the airport because Haruki made her promise to show up early and not miss the flight. And of course, as circumstances happen, Haruki ended up missing the flight because of a meeting he was at work, because he's known to just put off everything for work, which is not good and it's not healthy, but he did it. Kazusa didn't board the plane without him because she's pretty obsessed with him, and they're married, of course. And here we are. They missed their flight. Let's continue on. His expression was lax, absent-minded, devoid of tension or any shred of seriousness. Well, if you're that hungry, why don't you have one of my chocolate bars? That would be amazing. I'm seriously about to pass out. Wait, you're really gonna eat it? Selfish jerk. Now, wait just a minute. Do you even remember what we were literally just talking about? Look, I've only got one left. And you don't have this sort of admirable attitude that would allow you to split it in half and share it together? And in case you don't remember, Kazusa has eaten multiple chocolate bars within the last 2 hours. I think it was 6? Horribly unhealthy. And she's really splitting hairs about giving someone the 7th chocolate bar. Hey, Haruki, use your imagination. Haven't you ever actively pictured yourself finishing off the last serving of a side dish or a candy that you really like in its entirety? No, that's not something I do. How would you feel then if someone suddenly said to you, make do with half? If the other person were really in need, I would give it to them without thinking twice. No way, it's my last one, so why should I only be able to eat half of it? I refuse to accept such an unreasonable world. Kazusa's so selfish. She's so selfish and ridiculous when it comes to sweets. Like, at this point in this particular scenario, if I were Haruki, I'd actually get mad. Like, this is the dumbest thing. What's unreasonable here is your series of assertions. I don't care what you say. I'm not giving you this. If you have any complaints, you can go buy something yourself at a kiosk. Fine. I'm going shopping for a bit. Oh, while you're at it, get me 5 more of these chocolate bars. You are so... Yet, there was no tension in his expression, no seriousness. It told, even more eloquently than words, of how the two of them had lived in this country, full of contentment, repeated unchanging days, all the tedious hustle and bustle. I mean, it really says a lot about how they've gotten used to each other, and they can kind of maneuver around each other. Like, I'm sure Haruki doesn't like the fact that Kazusa's greedy and obnoxious about these things, but it's part of Kazusa, so he's learned to accept it, and he's learned how to navigate it, and then now they're fine, I guess. It works for them. I would be pretty mad about them not getting that chocolate bar, but to each their own. Hey, Kazusa? And so, the two of them continued sitting next to one another in the airport lobby, killing time by stuffing their cheeks with hamburgers, chatting back and forth, and watching the planes take off, one by one. And, at last, the time came for the airport announcement to call the name of their own flight. Are you nervous? Of course not. Haruki murmured in a slightly meek tone, different from how he'd been speaking up to this point. But Kazusa remained the same, lightly fending off the question with an attitude that lacked any fragment of seriousness. This trip isn't for a concert or an interview. It's completely open, so we can make the most of doing whatever we want. I guess you're right. So does that mean you're nervous, Haruki? I don't know. In spite of Kazusa's usual attitude, Haruki didn't relax his own change in mood. This trait, not reading along with one another's state of mind, was a point that really had not changed for either of them since back then. Which is a good and a bad thing. Because when someone's upset, maybe you can continue being happy and try to pull them out of it. But on the same token, if someone's upset, sometimes you need to empathize with them and really try to get on their level and figure out, well, what's wrong and how do I make it better? So, good points and bad points here. I never thought we would go back there again, so to be honest, I really don't know how I'm going to feel when I'm facing it. Yes, nothing had changed. Since several years ago, when they ceased reading the air, ceased their accord with society, and chose a sweet hell for themselves, threw away those they loved, threw away those who had loved them, threw away the country where they were born. Since several years ago, when they wished to live simply according to their own desires. You gotta face it sometime, though. I mean, I guess you don't have to. I guess you could have continued living across the world, but that's not exactly a healthy solution in the long run. How are you supposed to feel when you're facing it? That's obvious. What am I supposed to do then? Do you swear to love Kazusa Toma now and forever? Huh? Feel worried, stiff, trying not to laugh while you answer some American priest who can hardly speak a word of Japanese. That's what. They destroyed their surroundings, threw so many people into sorrow, even hurt themselves terribly. And, they say, like, oh, well, you'll do anything for true love. But, I mean, they really did leave a mess behind. And, at last, they had acquired this tiny daily life for themselves. This truly inconsequential everyday life. The scraps that remained after they traded their whole world away. If you're laughing now, I'm seriously concerned about what's going to happen in the actual moment. No, but are we seriously doing that? Mom said at least she's got a chapel pinned down at least. And this world that they had thrown away, what it gave them once again in their inconsequential routine, was a routine of even further calm and quiet. They hurt that world, and yet that world revived on its own, and they were saved by it. Received a favor that they could never fully pay back, gave up on returning it, since they knew there was nothing they could do. No matter what you do in the world is going to continue moving. And that's why you might as well just either try to make it right or move on with your life. If you hurt somebody, okay, try to apologize, try to fix it. Or just know that things are going to keep moving. That's all you can do. No, I'm doomed. I'm definitely gonna laugh. I'll be full on cackling. If you really do laugh, I'm kicking you right up into the air. Come on, Kazusa, you can't be serious. What, is there a problem? You were the one grumbling and groaning about, we've already entered our family register, so having a ceremony at this point would just be a hassle. But this is what Mom wants. Huh? Are you telling me you would disdain this one tiny, modest wish from our mother? Are you truly such a heartless man? What's with these reactions? What are you trying to imply? Nothing. It's just you don't seem opposed to the idea at all. What, are you opposed to holding a ceremony with me? They're so awkward about this. They've been married for a while now, and they still haven't had their ceremony, and Kazusa likes to try to act cool, like, oh, it doesn't matter to me, I don't need a ceremony. But, like, clearly she does care about the ceremony, at least a little bit. I'm a man. I have the right to answer pointless questions like that with, how am I supposed to know? Oh, wow, I see. Boys are an especially infuriating sort of beast, huh? And why are you being so open today? You do realize we're not in bed right now? Haruki, you've really been a lot more blunt lately, I've noticed. Well, that's because I have to spend my life with someone who's so nonchalant and unreserved. It's funny to hear Haruki saying such things out loud, especially like that. And it's interesting to see how his character evolves in Kazusa's route rather than Setsuna's, because Kazusa's super blunt. And not even in like the super flirtatious kind of way. She's just super blunt. That's what she is. She just doesn't have a filter. And so now Haruki's kind of latched onto that in a certain way. It's interesting how we change with the people we love. For Haruki Kitahara and Kazusa Kitahara, oh, it's so weird to read that, airports held a great many memories. Breakdowns, declarations of feelings, separations, returns home, and new journeys. Casting aside, spilling, overflowing, reawakening. Countless pains slept in Narita, that airport in Japan. And today, for the first time in years, the two of them were going toward that place, toward Narita Airport. They would set foot upon Japanese soil once more. They would return to that strong, gentle, and just slightly meddlesome world, to swear before everyone that the two of them would be a pair forever. They would swear anywhere, at any time, however many times it took. Oh, they're so sweet. That's so adorable. Well, looks like the gate has opened up, so let's get going. I wonder if Mom's doing all right. For now, she's out of the hospital and living at home, she said. I see. I wonder if she'll finally come and visit us here next time then? She herself said, I don't want to leave Japan. It's better to be with family, right? That seems obvious. I never imagined I would hear those words out of you. Kazusa's matured a lot, and now Haruki has as well. The relationship between the mother and daughter is still something that I question is super healthy, just kind of forgiving everything and moving on. But now that she's decided that, she's taking it seriously and doing it in a healthy manner, and I think that's great. Winter was no longer White Album season. The snow was neither crystallized tears nor drops of sorrow. Let's go, Haruki, to Japan. Yes, to our homeland. Let's go back. With no thought for their age, no sign of just going through the motions, their arms tightly entwined, the two of them, pressing their bodies against one another, began walking toward the ticket gate. And that brings us to the end of Kazusa's after story from White Album 2. Now, this is an interesting one, and I do like it because it's such a specific scenario. It's just they're in the airport and they're about to face this big thing, and then they stopped. Now, later on, they actually released the White Album 2 mini after story, which is pretty much a direct continuation of this, and I do really, really recommend giving that a listen. You can hear the English translation on my channel, but it's very, very good. This is kind of like I was talking about the liminal space, the one where it's just a pathway somewhere else. That's what this story is. And it ends up leading it to the mini after story, which really, really digs into some of these relationships in a lot more deeper way. And so it's very, very good. And I am glad that they put this as well, because this is a good introduction to their frames of mind since the main game. So, thanks so much for joining me on this from White Album 2, and I'll be back with more content shortly. So until then, hope you take care. See you.